Hello again, fourth graders, and welcome to session 7 of our Writer's Workshop. Today we're going to continue to build on what we talked about yesterday as you made your thesis statement and listed your reasons. We are going to build on that idea as we set up your writer's journal today. We're actually going to build this idea with some what we call mini stories or mini ideas that help to support what we just said. In our session 7 today, we are going to go back in time for a couple of sessions ago when we talked about that idea of I love ice cream. This idea will help us with our story that we're writing about our person and our thesis statement and reasons from yesterday's session 6. Well, we've turned a bend. Soon we will be starting to develop our essays. Remember, fourth graders, that writing an essay means keeping both form and content in mind. It's like baking a cake. Now, the last few days you've been working on making the content of your writing strong, and now you'll need to start putting form and content together. We'll practice together, and then you'll go off to work on your own story ideas. Writers, today we will learn that essays are strong in both content and structure. One way that writers achieve this is to include a variety of evidence to support their opinions as they write within the frame of an essay. Here's that example from a couple of sessions ago when we talked about I love ice cream. We listed 3 reasons. I love ice cream because you can add different toppings. I love ice cream because there are so many flavors. And most of all, I love ice cream because it's refreshing on a hot day. Well, let's develop the first reason. We'll want a variety of evidence to support the first reason, some facts and some mini stories. I'm going to flip back for a moment so you can see I love ice cream because you can add different toppings. Well, at the ice cream store near my house, there are over 20 different kinds of toppings. This idea or reason or mini evidence helps to support our first bullet point. Maybe we can think of some little stories that go along with this. I'm sure each of you could think of a personal story that could support the first reason about why you like toppings on ice cream. Here's an example of a mini story. I remember when my friend Kate and I went to get ice cream. We stood for a long time at the counter. There were so many toppings we couldn't decide what we wanted most. Kate said, "We'll just have to come back again soon so we can try out the other toppings." The overall setup for this idea is on this screen right here. The thesis statement, which you worked on yesterday, because, and then the reasons 1, 2, and most of all because of reason 3. That is the true box in what we call boxes and bullets. Underneath that, you see the 3 bullet points with one reason being the thesis statement is that, and giving your reason, and then evidence. For example, evidence A, B, and C. And then we repeat this process for the second and third bullet points to give reasons. So this process is what takes us through developing our story. We're going to be developing this slowly over the course of the next several days, but this is how our story will eventually develop. Here's a great example so you see what we're talking about here with boxes and bullets. One reason why I love ice cream is because there are so many toppings. You top your ice cream with different kinds of nuts or chocolate or fruit or even shredded coconut. I've also seen people putting crushed cereal on top. Yum. At the ice cream store near my house, there are over 20 kinds of toppings. The mini story included here, I remember when my friend and I went to get ice cream. We stood for a long time at the counter. There were so many toppings we couldn't decide what we wanted most. Kate said, "We'll just have to come back again soon so we can try out the other toppings." The toppings are a big reason why I love ice cream. So as you can see by this slide, there are many, many, many parts to just one reason. Now that we are developing your reasons for your thesis statement, you'll get a much clearer sense of what you want to put in your essay and how it will go. All right, fourth graders, it's time to set up our writer's journal. At this point, I would like you to find the next 3 pages, full pages, that are empty. On the top of the first page, I want you to write in a box, make a small rectangular box, of what your thesis statement is. Our last example was I love ice cream. Yesterday's example was about your father and the impact that the father had. You needed to come up with something that's meaningful for you. So how did this person that you're writing about from yesterday, how did they impact you? That thesis statement in a box will go on the top. Then those 3 parts that you put around that circle that you made in yesterday's lesson will be the top of each page of the next 3 pages. So I'm going to ask you to write your first, what we would call bullet point, at the top of page 1, your reason or bullet point number 2 at the top of the next page, and finally the bullet point 3 at the top of the 3rd page. So again, just to recap, you will have 3 new pages in your writer's journal. Your thesis statement at the top of page 1, reason 1 underneath that, reason 2 on page 2, and reason 3 on page 3. After you do that, I'd like you today to work on writing down support, or a reason that supports what you just wrote for your reason. In other words, evidence that helps to support it. Our work today will simply be to make one of those ideas under each of those. So, we have 3 new pages in our writer's journal. Our thesis statement or box is at the top of page 1. Reason 1 on page 1. Reason 2 on page 2. And reason 3 on page 3. If I was to do that with our ice cream story, I love ice cream would be on the top of page 1. Bullet point 1 would be underneath that. Bullet point 2 would be on page 2. And bullet point 3 would be on the top of page 3. And again, after you do that much for your story, for your person, then go ahead and put down a piece of evidence. How can you support each of those? Good luck, get started, and happy writing today.